wonderful day to be inside here in Greater Detroit, and we welcome you inside Taylor Lanes in Taylor, Michigan for the second event in the PBA 6-event versatility swing. This is your Chameleon Championship. Glad you're spending part of your Sunday with us. Rob Stone, Randy Peterson with you, and over the course of the last few weeks, we've used the term bonus bowling. 2 weeks ago, it was the women. Last week, it was the seniors. This week, literally, there is bonus bowling due to a major scoring malfunction earlier in the week.
Originally, this tournament was slated to be a three-match men's finals, but because of a huge computer scoring error, the integrity of the tournament was threatened. So an executive decision was made to add another match featuring Machuga and Rash. So today, the fans at home, they get a bonus match.
More bowling for the same low price. We're working to work just as hard, and bonus work for us. So we begin with Rash taking on Machuga.
This is going to be a great matchup to start. The cranker versus the pure stroker. Machuga looking for his second career title.
And the winner of that one will take on Brian Kretzer, the big Buckeye fan. He's in enemy territory this week. He's seeking his first title. If he is to win, the big nasty Wes Malott would be next up in his grill, and Wes Malott off to a great start this season. But your number one seed is Bill O'Neill.
Bill O'Neill making back-to-back shows for the first time in his career, finished second last week to Walter Ray Williams Jr.
And we conclude with the second PBA Women's Series event of the season, Michellee Feldman, with her second crack at a title this season. Take a look at our stepladder format. And number one seed, Bill O'Neill, perhaps the most accomplished PBA bowler without a title yet. And we begin with Machuga, just one career Lumber Liquidators PBA Tour title. It came in 2005, the Greater Omaha Classic, and it just happened to be rolled on this very same Chameleon oil pattern.
I see a trend.
Maybe, perhaps, we're onto something. He celebrated that win with the now famous Machuga flop.
Can't wait to see it again.
Long ways away from that. Danced on that gutter for a long time, Randy.
And we'll get into the oil pattern later, but you're not supposed to play the outside part of the lane on the Chameleon pattern.
See him trying to calm himself down. His best finish last year was 5th at the Atomic Championship in Cheektowaga, just outside of Buffalo. Saves face.
That's how it's done, man. You can't draw it up any better than that. Get the 1 over into the 10. The ball will take out the 2 and the 4. And Machuga avoids the early open frame.
So up now, young Rash, after starting his career 7-0 on television, he lost to Norm Duke in the first semifinal match of this season's first event, the PBA World Championship.
How about that break? Trip 2-8-10 to start. And who can forget the last time we saw Rash on television as we take a look. Now, this is where you're supposed to play on the Chameleon pattern, that deep inside line. But last time Rash was on television, he accrued $2,100 in shot clock violation fines.
Told us a couple distractions, had bad footing all week, and admitted it's still in his head a little bit. Oof. Brooklyn opportunity as that one went left of the head pin.
Using 2 different bowling balls, one on the right lane, one on the left lane. So obviously for Rash, not the same ball reaction. That's going to be straight and hard at the 6.
So Rash starts strike spare. The 26-year-old native of Wichita, Kansas, takes a seat. And Machuga from Erie, Pennsylvania, steps up.
Nice and free.
And a washout spare in the first.
Washout, I like that. You're getting so good, Rob.
Depends who you ask. And one of the perks of the season for Machuga, his health is finally in order.
And now I feel like I'm as healthy and strong as I've ever been in my career, and all my little tricks and tools are starting to come back, and I feel pretty sharp. So I'm looking forward to a good season.
2 years ago was a groin injury. Last year, hernia surgery. Both of those coming about 3 weeks before the season started.
And you can see right off the bat, no matter if you're playing the outside part of the lane or in, that this oil pattern is very touchy. It was the second lowest scoring pattern that we had all of last season. And not a lot of margin for error out on the lanes thus far.
So another solid spare pickup for Machuga. Rash steps up in the third. He has gone strike spare as we take a look at how Sean Rash qualified this week for the Chameleon Championship.
Another ball change, and that ball looked like a piece of charcoal. A lot of surface on it, very aggressive. And he's left himself with a really tough spare of the 3-6-9-10. But watch this style. This is how you create power. Look at the cup wrist at the top, and then he just uncups it onto the lane. He does a great job of stabilizing his spine going to the foul line, Rob.
He said it was like a piece of charcoal.
See how sandblasted that thing was? It looked like it had snow tires on it.
Nice. Maybe put some chains on it. It is snowing outside here in Detroit.
Costly open frame. 3-6-9-10. Trying to get that back pin. That's the tough one. Probably the hardest non-split conversion out here on tour.
Well, that one found the pocket and had the right delivery man to send that final message.
And a super break there with something rolling over and taking the 4-pin out. Watch this. It's going to be the 3-pin that comes over and takes the 4 out.
Machuga's second strike. Oh, man, is he dancing with that gutter.
And, you know, you can see this at release where his fingers are directly behind the bowling ball. Watch this, how his hand stays right up the back, just a slight rotation there. That ball's on the 1.5 board, but because of that roll, he gets it to read that part of the lane, which, quite honestly, I didn't think you could do from out there and get the ball back and hook it into the pocket. Mike Machuga, he may have found something.
Yes, he has back-to-back jacks for the former All-American at the University of Nebraska. Love that angle with the ball coming right in your grill.
Takes a lot of nerves, a lot of skill, and some maple moxie to be playing the 1-2 board on television.
So Rash, his effort now in the 5th. He has gone strike, spare, open frame 9, strike. Messenger, not strong enough. We've seen a lot of those rolling lazy messengers the last couple weeks. I feel like Walter Ray Williams Jr. had a few last week, a little bit stronger than that.
Well, last week Walter Ray had one late that barely got the 10 out before the machine hit the pin, and then he got a fast one, and that was really the undoing of Bill O'Neill, those 2 great breaks. But, you know, any pro will tell you that you got to have good breaks to win out here. Unfortunately, Sean Rash was not able to capitalize on the trip for the frame before this, so now he's looking to start stringing some strikes. Down by 15, 6th frame.
And there's your strike, probably the cleanest strike he's had yet in this opening match of our bonus bowling stepladder final. the conclusion of Rash Machuga when we return to Taylor, Michigan.
The Lumber Liquidators PBA Tour on ESPN is brought to you by Lumber Liquidators.
9th consecutive season the PBA has been at Taylor Lanes. We're just about halfway through our opening match between Sean Rash and Mike Machuga, a match that originally was not scheduled, but a scoring malfunction in the position round made this necessary. Here are the two competitors on what exactly transpired.
Being that it is a pinfall tournament, the reason for my appeal was because Sean Rash did bowl on the correct lane, not only on the right pair, but on the correct lane, his score should have counted originally. That is why I appealed. Kirk felt that it was a match play game and that match should be bowled against the proper opponent.
It's good and it's bad. You know, it'll be something that'll be talked about, I'm sure, all year long. I'm sure people hate me for bowling a good game. I'm sure people hate the PBA for it. But, you know, a lot of the players gave me some remorse last night saying, look, Sean, you just bowled what you were supposed to bowl. And on the pair you're supposed to bowl and who you're supposed to bowl after it happened. And that definitely made me feel a little bit better after, you know, about an hour of thinking about it.
And I think they did the best they could with the situation. The original ruling I do not agree with, but I think that they did the best they could with the situation, and I'm very grateful that they still give me a chance to win the trophy.
And folks, what happened was Sean Rash actually bowled against the wrong opponent in match play the last game.
But not Rash's fault.
Not Rash's fault, no. And I think hate's a pretty strong word to be using. But Sean didn't bowl against the right opponent. Mike Machuga's score did count. Sean got to bowl another game, now knowing what score he needed to leapfrog Mike Machuga into the show. Look at that hanger. Wow. So what ends up happening is Sean Rash needs to shoot 256 or better to go around Mike Machuga. And so what does he do? He shoots 257. Well, now Mike Machuga's knocked out of the show. The decision's made. Hey, listen, to make all things fair, what if both of you make the telecast? We'll add a match. And both players agree to it. And I think it was the right decision.
An equitable decision for all parties, and ESPN, not to pat our company on the back, but did the proper thing and saying, you know what, we understand you're going to go over your normal hour-and-a-half time frame. That is fine. Let's make sure that this is solved the way it needs to be properly done. So here we are after 6. We begin the 7th. Machuga up 24. Rash has yet to string together a pair of strikes.
Pretty good one right there.
Machuga starting to find his line.
Rob, I went over and I watched the players practice over on the practice pairs, and I saw Mike Machuga playing out over there, and I asked the guys, I said, are you supposed to be playing out there? And they all agreed unanimously, no. What Mike Machuga is doing right now is, I think, is a big shock to not only the players that are here today, but the players that may be watching. You're not supposed to play that part of the lane.
But he's doing it.
He is doing it.
And succeeding. You see the look on Rash's face. I'm going to take it. But he's going to the left of the head pin and getting himself a Brooklyn strike.
Yeah, in this match right now for Sean Rash has been nothing but good breaks. He goes Brooklyn here to catch his first double of the match and climb to within 14 pins of Mike Machuga. But you can see Sean's ball reaction. If he doesn't get the ball far enough to the right, there's not enough buildup in the middle part of the lane to hold the ball on line.
Rash's 4th strike in the first 7 frames, and as you mentioned, Randy, his first pair of strikes. Looking for 3 in a row here.
And this is what happens when you're kind of bowling in a phone booth. Sean Rash went Brooklyn. He knows he's got to give the ball a little bit more room to the right, but he also knows that if he gets it going too far to the right, that's what happens.
Destroys that spare.
We're going to need 4 new ones on the left lane.
Oh, fuck. Plus 18.
Machuga up 18 in the 8th. Machuga telling us yesterday, Randy, he's a big advocate of the gravity swing. Tell us more about that.
You want me to explain gravity swing to you?
Yeah, I understand gravity.
Right here, Mike Machuga looking to capitalize on Sean Rash not throwing a three-bagger, leaves it to a 10 at the worst possible moment. But the gravity swing is where you push the ball away and then you let gravity control the arm swing. The weight of the ball and gravity, and basically what it does is it makes your swing about as free as you could possibly get it. So there's no tension. It's just a free, repeatable swing. If you think about a swing that's muscled and you know, you're arming it and jerking on it and grabbing it, that's not going to be near as consistent as something that's free-falling, and gravity's constantly making that ball and that swing go in the same spot every time. Norm Duke's a big advocate. Obviously, Mike Machuga, out of the same school, he's a big advocate.
We begin the foundation frame. Machuga off his first open frame. High and heavy on that one.
And right now for Mike Machuga, he should be thinking about filling frames with marks, because the look that Sean Rash has on the lanes doesn't look very good. And I think that Mike's mindset should be, hey, if I mark here in the 9th and 10th frame, I'm going to be in the high 190s. That may be enough to beat Sean Rash, who doesn't look like he's able to double.
Well, that spare pickup was borderline mandatory for Machuga. So Machuga can now max out at 207. Rash can top him at 211. And here's Rash getting set in the 9th. Last season, 4 top 10 finishes and 1 victory for Rash. That 1 victory, a major, coming at the USBC Masters. This season, he is 5th on the PBA points leader list and 6th on the money list. So off to a fairly hot start for the young man from Wichita.
And that right there is kind of my point. You know, a little bit further right of that, and it runs the risk of going wide. A little bit left of that, it's through the nose of Brooklyn. So Sean Rash, in all likelihood, will convert the 4-pin here. And he will need 3 in the 10th to shoot 200. And there's another block.
Wow. 1.
So, first one's $100. Is it? That'll be a shot clock violation. It's not a foul because he didn't let go of the bowling ball. Can you say traction?
Safe.
$100 for the first shot clock violation. $500 after that.
And again, Rash had huge problems to open up the season in the first televised match of our season with that type of issue. And is part of that the fact that he just throws it so darn hard?
Well, he had some spare issues this week. He missed a lot of single pin spares. And I think that's why he balked on that particular shot there. And then, as you can see, raising the arms after he made the 4-pin, which, quite honestly, is a routine spare that these guys can make with their eyes closed. So, had some spare ball issues, had some spare single pin spare issues. Situation is simple. Sean Rash can strike out to shoot 200 on the nose. Mike Machuga can go strike spare to shoot 197.
There's your strike for Rash. Timely.
He'll need this one to force Mike Machuga to throw a double. And Sean gives the lanes a Rash. Did you see that sign?
They call him Diaper, as in Diaper Rash.
There's got to be a cream or an ointment for that.
I know there is, because I have several tubes of it at my house.
That's right, you do have little ones.
Yes.
Big shot coming up for Sean Rash. This one here will force Mike Machuga to double. If Sean can get at least 8 on his fill shot.
That's some good quick math, my friend. I'm impressed.
Now all Mike Machuga needs is a mark and good count.
That one good.
You can see why the chameleon pattern is living up to its name. Low scores to start. We'll see how the lanes change as the day goes on.
We're going to talk more about this chameleon oil pattern as our broadcast continues. So Rash is in the books at 190.
So now what does Mike Machuga do? Does he take a spare ball and throw it straight down the middle to try to leave himself a single pin spare? He's playing right on the edge of the right gutter. The slightest mistake to the right, Mike Machuga will get 0. If he misses too far left, he could go through the nose and run the risk of a big split. Perfect. Or you can just pure it like that.
And Machuga moves on. We talked about all the televised success for Sean Rash this season. He's now 0 for 2 on the tube.
Perfect arm swing, great hand. That ball behaves perfectly. Mike Machuga gets the strike. He's looking. And Mike does what any professional bowler does on television who's thinking the right thoughts. He says, you know what, I only shot 197 playing out. Let me grab another ball and look for another part of the lane.
I got a ball. Where they at?
So the 3 seed, Brian Kretzer, now waiting in the wings, and Machuga is going to go into his bag and take out another ball, and let's do some more research and development, some more trial and error here.
A little more R&D. The spare means nothing, so he's going to get another ball out, something that's a little bit more aggressive, and he's going to look for another line. Or the outside line with a different ball.
Don't read into that miss of the 10-pin. He wasn't aiming for it at all. He was looking for a line for his next match versus the 3 seed Brian Kretzer. So Machuga's appeal earlier this week pays huge dividends for him. He would have been out of this tournament. Now he moves on to take on Brian Kretzer. Match number 2 when we return, and a profile of the great Del Ballard Jr. Glad you're back with us as ESPN continues our coverage of the Chameleon Championship, and we continue, Randy, our top 50 countdown of the all-time greatest bowlers in PBA history. Begin at number 32 this week.
The late, great Jim Godman won 11 times and 3 majors in his career. Rookie of the Year in 1965 and won the Tournament of Champions in 1969 and 73.
Wayne Zahn won 13 career titles, was a PBA charter member, and also named PBA Player of the Year in 1966.
At number 30, TJ Tommy Jones, 12 titles, including 2 majors, a former Rookie of the Year, and one of just 3 players to win both Player and Rookie of the Year honors.
Del Ballard Jr. won all 13 of his titles in a 7-year span from 87 to 93. We'll have more on Del in just a moment.
At number 28, Harry the Tiger Smith won the 1960 BPAA All-Stars for his first career title and his first major title, inducted into the PBA Hall of Fame in 1975.
After winning his first title in 1966, Jim Stepnich broke out with 9 titles over the next 2 seasons. It was the 1968 PBA Player of the Year, but we focus back on Del Ballard Jr., number 29. His first career victory came in the 1987 U.S. Open, which made him the first bowler to win a 6-figure first-place prize. Bo Burton with more on Del Ballard Jr.
The number 29 spot in our countdown belongs to Del Ballard Jr. The Texan was dominant in a 7-year span from 1987 to 1993. When he won all 13 of his career titles. Including those 13 wins were a pair of U.S. Opens, a Masters Championship, and a Tournament of Champions victory. His 1987 U.S. Open title, worth $100,000, made him the first player in PBA history to collect a 6-figure first-place check.
And there's a live look at Del on his left. His lovely wife, Carolyn Dorn Ballard, who took part in the PBA Women's Series here in Taylor, and on her lap, daughter Alicia. And just a reminder that we will reveal the number 1 player in the PBA's 50 greatest countdown during the live telecast of the H&R Block Tournament of Champions on January 25th. That one from Red Rock Lanes in Las Vegas, where Norm Duke will also be looking for an unprecedented 4th consecutive major victory in that event. As we take an updated look at today's bracket, Machuga wins it 196-190 over Sean Rash, so he now takes on Brian Kretzer. Strikes, and I believe that was the ball that he threw to test at the end of his first match.
Very observant, my friend Rob. You are correct, sir.
Do not mock me. Here's Brian Kretzer. He actually beat Machuga twice this week in qualifying. So we start with a pair of strikes.
And that deep inside line for Brian Kretzer is home sweet home. Loves playing the inside line. He's got a really soft hand at the bottom of the swing, and he can rotate the ball about as much as anybody out here when he feels the need. He's been working very hard on changing up some things, becoming a little bit more versatile, staying close in the early games, and then going to his A game as the lanes start to transition.
Is that 10 going to go down? Yeah. Kretzer told us yesterday that the added match really works in his favor. More oil goes down the lane and left, better for him. He's excited that there is a match before him today.
Get a little bit of carry down the lane, settle down a bit, and the guys through practice and one game, there's some traffic in front of him.
Strike spare for Kretzer, one of two bowlers on today's men's telecast that are seeking their first Lumber Liquidators PBA Tour title. The other being the #1 seed, Bill O'Neill, who is making back-to-back televised appearances. This is Mike Machuga, his 11th career televised finals appearance. Again, just one win. It came in 05 on this oil pattern. New ball working just fine. 2 strikes to start off.
And what that bowling ball does for Mike Machuga, because it's stronger, is he doesn't have to apply as much pressure, as much hit at the bottom of the swing, allowing him to keep it more on line. But the thing that Mike Machuga really worked on this week was keeping his hand and his elbow to the inside part of the ball. And I say it on a weekly basis. Pros work the inside part of the ball, amateurs work the outside part. Mike Machuga's found a home on the outside part of the lane.
So Machuga knocks down a turkey to start off match #2. And setting the tone early. And Kretzer has to realize that, and not that he has to make any significant changes right now, but he knows he's going to need to put up some points. Strike, spare, strike.
And what's really crazy about this chameleon pattern, and this is the last time that you'll see this pattern exclusively this season, is how deep Brian Kretzer already is. We had some practice. We've had one match bowled on this TV pair, and Brian Kretzer is already in between the 5th and 6th arrow on the left side of the lane. Shot there, Rob, is the other thing that Brian Kretzer's been working on, is a little bit of loft, getting a little bit more loft into his game, and what that does is it just delays hook. After the flat 10 on the left lane, he said, you know what, I got to get this ball to finish a little bit stronger into the pocket. Let me get a little air under this shot.
Machuga, 4 top 8 finishes last season. This will be his best result of this campaign.
What a ball change, huh?
So Machuga opens up with 4 strikes in a row.
Again, fundamentally very sound. I think he's got one of the best physical games out here. And when he's healthy, he throws a lot of shots that look like this.
For Machuga.
Did you miss your other opportunity in the fourth frame? Because I didn't hear it.
I'm sorry, what happened?
Well, he got 4 in a row. You got a 4-bagger. I didn't.
I'm not contractually obligated to say ham bone every time somebody bowls 4 in a row.
Sorry. If you did, I missed it parts.
You did not miss it.
Okay, all right.
Now, Kretzer has an opportunity now for a ham bone, my friend. And should he, I'll be more than happy to bark it out for our fans. We've got some good ham bone signs out here today. A couple ham bone haters as well.
We've got a really good match shaping up here.
Yeah.
If Brian Kretzer can find a strike here on the left lane.
We're blowing the scores out already from match number 1, where Machuga beat Rash 196 to 190. These guys are heavy into the 200s right now, at this pace at least.
I can't Sean Rash. It's obvious. God.
Well, and this is the same risk that Sean Rash faced playing that deep inside line. As you see, Brian, just a little hop there. I don't know if that affected that shot a whole lot, but he just gets it a little bit wide of target down the lane, and he runs into a little bit of oil that makes the ball go light.
2 4 10, yeah!
How about that?
That's some Buckeye ball there. Enjoy it. Kretzer, a devout Ohio State fan, was in enemy territory this week. We will tell you about his Buckeye Wolverine confrontation when we return. 24th season overall that Taylor Lanes has hosted a PBA Tour stop, and we'll be back in Taylor next weekend for the Ultimate Scoring Championship. Maybe no better time for a 300 televised game than next Sunday. And then in 2 weeks, we are north of Chicago in Vernon Hills for the Carmen Salvino Scorpion Championship. Take a look now at the Denny's Player of the Year points list. And on top, Norm Duke, followed by Walter A. Williams Jr. Tied for third is Bill O'Neill, who is our #1 seed today in the Chameleon Championship. Wes Malott is standing by. He'll have the next match, and he's at number 8. This has been a high-scoring affair. Machuga, 5 frames, 5 strikes, looking to open up a 6-pack. Oh, yeah!
Well, he's taking a page right out of Norm Duke and Walter A. Williams' book of how to play the lanes where you're not supposed to. He's found a home in the outside part of the lane, really soft with his hand, and just letting that bowling ball do all the work.
What will disrupt that home?
Nothing, because there's nobody else that's going to play out there. I don't see anybody else playing out there. I don't know if they can, if Wes Malott or Bill O'Neill can get their hands soft enough to get that straight.
He's got the touchdown, looking for the extra point here. 7 in a row.
Starting to go a little bit right
The
there.
good news is no 4-9 split.
Minimal damage. Wonderful start for Machuga.
Just a pinch high, gets a good left tap there on the 4-pin, only leaving the 9, and yes, you're right, a great start.
Takes care of his first spare opportunity here in match number 2. Again, Machuga took care of Sean Rash 196-190 in our opening match. He is easily going to eclipse that 196. Brian Kretzer has gone strike, spare, then 3 consecutive strikes and another spare. Here he is in the 7th, as you see the scroll of our other finishers this week. Whoa.
1, 5, 7, 8. Had to be more pins up there.
That was a shoe issue. Brian Kretzer had to break in a new pair of shoes at the start of the season, and although he's been bowling very, very well this season, occasionally there's some issues with his slide sole and that slide foot. Completely different pair of shoes. reason being is that the shoes that he was wearing, that company is no longer product registered with the Lumber Liquidators PBA Tour. So Brian was forced to go to another manufacturer that is allowed to compete or to be shown out here. And it's taken him a little bit of time to break it in. And it's, you know, what he was wearing before and what he's wearing now is like night and day. Just takes him a little bit of time to get used to the new pair of shoes.
Is it pretty much just a slide issue?
Yeah, but it's not consistent. There's nothing wrong with the pair of shoes he's wearing now. They're just different. They feel different. They fit a little bit different. They're made differently.
Machuga off his only spare here in the 8th. And gets right back on the strike train.
Again, just beautiful form going to the foul line, and he's really taken his wrist out of this shot. Just a slight cup and real soft through it at the bottom of the swing. But the thing to look at is that perfect balance, eyes on target, and a perfect result. And really the only errant shot of this game for Mike Machuga, he just gets a little quick with that shot. And again, I think you know, the folks at home need to realize what a fine line it is, Rob, between missing it just a little bit or catching just a little bit too much of it at the point of release.
And again, all of his spare opportunities this match have been single spin spares. He's taking care of both of them. So Kretzer steps up, and he's going to need to string some serious strikes together. And you knew Kretzer would be in the red. He's going to tell you, though, it's scarlet. He's a diehard Ohio State fan. Came to our meeting yesterday wearing Archie Griffin's number 45 jersey and a Buckeye hat. Oh, boy.
Well, you saw him brushing his shoe after his last shot, and what that's going to do is it's going to rough up that sole, and so here he sticks.
I told you about Kretzer and all of his Ohio State love he has done in this match, but he has been all week in Detroit, which is not far from Ann Arbor, which is the University of Michigan territory.
Yeah, what happened with the...
So he's grocery shopping yesterday.
Right.
And he's wearing his Buckeye garb, and he's going down one of the lanes, you know, getting some rice-a-roni or something, and somebody goes to him, awfully brave. There's a Michigan guy. Kretzer just kept on walking, and Kretzer's point is, hey, Michigan fan, you're awfully brave for barking at me. You got a losing season. You have the worst season in Michigan football history. They lost at home yesterday to Northwestern, a game that Wes Malott was at, and Wes Malott is up next, and up next for Mike Machuga.
Well, Brian Kretzer is having a very nice season. He's not going to win this match, but I don't think this is the last time you'll see Brian Kretzer on the telecast this season.
Kretzer came in today 8th on the PBA points leader list, just behind Wes Malott, who is up next. So 137 career events without a title for Brian Kretzer. It'll now go to at least 138.
And another ball change. Although I'm not so sure about that one because he was bowling a pretty big game with this bowling ball here. So I think there's a point where, you know, you start to fidget a bit too much and it's overkill.
Overthinking,
absolutely,
overkill.
Absolutely. You know, I think 247, if he strikes here, is going to win just about every match, no matter who he bowls.
No way.
So Machuga, 6 pins better than Rash in match number 1. 57 pins better than Kretzer in match number 2. Wes Malott waiting in the wings. And here's a scary thought, folks. He doesn't even feel like he's bowling well yet this season.
Liquidators PBA Tour on ESPN is brought to you by Bayer.
Detroit, home of the big three automobile companies, GM, Ford, Chrysler. Wes Malott, the big 2 seed here, to take on number 5 seed Mike Machuga as you take an updated look at the bracket for the Chameleon Championship. We are in Taylor, Michigan, named after Zachary Taylor, the 12th president of the United States of America.
Did you just make that up?
I did not. That is a fact. I have another great fact about Detroit for you a little bit later. I know you're excited. There's Malott, and here's Machuga. Starts the way he began match number 2 with a strike.
And don't think that your tournament leader, Bill O'Neill, and Wes Malott haven't been watching what's going on. They came over and threw practice balls, and I guarantee you they tried to find something to the outside part of the lane. So let's see where Wes Malott tries to attack the Chameleon pattern. How about out?
You like that strategy? I mean, it worked right there.
If you look at where the other 2 players that played way in shot, I mean, 188 by Brian Kretzer, 190 by Sean Rash, 2 great inside players. Wes Malott, he's a great inside player as well, but he figures he's got a better shot at trying to get around the area where Mike Machuga's playing.
Malott made 6 televised appearances last season for the 2nd consecutive season, which matched his career high he set in 06-07. This is his 2nd of this season. And his 2nd strike of this match. 10 top 8 finishes last season, tied for most with Chris Barnes and Walter Ray Williams Jr.
Don't call him the Big Nasty.
I think it's one of the better nicknames, if you ask me.
I like it.
I guess it's a good break.
Machuga opened up match number 2 with 6 straight strikes. Will not duplicate that here in match number 3. But again, I'm sorry, but again, it's a single spin spare that he has to deal with.
Because he trips in 2-pin late. So, yeah, avoiding those splits and single pin spares, that's the object if you don't hit the pocket. Right now, Mike Machuga, he's got a little competition early on. Wes Malott's decided to play a little bit closer to where Mike is, albeit he's left on the approach, circling a little bit more. Mike Machuga, I guarantee you, he's thinking about that in the back of his mind. And trip 2.
That one looked like he was going a little further right. That's kind of what we saw in match number 1.
Yeah, it wiggled a little bit down lane and didn't get up into the pocket, but again, a huge break there. And, you know, your opponents don't like that. When you start tripping 2 pins and going Brooklyn for strikes.
We haven't seen too many bad breaks today at all either.
Well, we've seen a few of these.
Yeah.
And Wes Malott just turned his back on this one as soon as he let it go. This ball looked like it was in the right zone. It just didn't have any hand in it, so it never responded down the lane. See how you go about making the 1-2-4-10. And I believe the guys are 100% on the washout today. Mike Machuga made one in the first match, as well as Sean Rash.
Everybody else has done it.
Oh, did he play that well?
You hear him? He gave the shout out. Everybody else has done it. So you saw Wes Malott go to the tape, and he goes to the tape a lot. He carries a pocket knife with him. He's constantly messing with that thumb hole, man. He's got to have it just right. So let's see how this shot is out of his hand. believe that's 7 more than I think he thought he was going to get. Now, it's one thing if you're going straight up the 1-2 board. It's another when you're throwing it into that direction. And I thought for a minute that ball had a chance of going in. As you see how do you make the 3-6-10.
We saw in match number 1, Machuga beat Rash 196-190. The Chameleon oil pattern really kind of had both of them guessing, maybe about through the first 50% of this match. Match number 2, it seemed like they both had it figured out, Kretzer and Machuga. And match 3, it's back to the...
Oh, no.
Oof. Back to the board again as they're trying to really get a better grasp on this thing. An open frame there for Malott in the 4th. We're going to remember that one. So Malott started strike, strike, then went spare, open frame. Machuga, strike, spare, strike. Here he is in the 4th. Eye on that one.
Well, as the lanes transition, the shots tend to change. This is just a little bit left to target with a little bit more hand than he wanted. The good news, he only leaves the 3-6.
Talked about the oil. Let's talk about it further detail. Lumber Liquidators know the wood.
Well, it's 40 feet. The Chameleon pattern resembles a retro approach to pattern design where the oil is applied in strips and requires bowlers to play in a specific zone on the lane, most of the time deep inside. We only had one 300 game this week, that by Dino Castillo.
That oil, 40 feet long, as that graphic showed you, but applied in strips.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I wasn't listening.
Kind of.
Were you talking? I have a tendency to zone you out sometimes. You bore me.
Man, what is going on here, Mike?
Big challenge here for Machuga.
Well,
And now it almost looks like the zone that Mike Machuga's in, he needs to now downshell or go to a ball that's not as aggressive so that that ball will hold its line to the 1-3 pocket. And a great opening for Wes Malott.
After Malott gave Machuga an opening with the open frame.
We like to call this a seesaw match, Rob, in the biz.
Is that another bowling term I need to learn and put down on my cheat sheet? Seesaw match.
Actually, that's a universal phrase.
I'm going to put that right next to bucket, baby split, and clean game.
You could use that in a multitude of sports, but we're going to use it for today.
Gotcha. Malott in the 5th, up 6. And the chess match continues.
Spent some time with Wes Malott in Asia over the summer. Him and I went to Okinawa, Japan, Kadena Air Force Base, and put on a show for the men and women of our armed forces. And he was just a great guy to be around, and we had some good times, some good laughs, played a little golf, and did some bowling and some instructional clinics. Had a great time.
Malott, his 4th strike. And 2nd in a row. And as we head to break, Malott takes a seat with some much-needed momentum. Open with the pair, is closing with the pair as we go to break. When we return, the conclusion of Machuga, Malott. And we welcome you back to ESPN's continuing live coverage of the Lumber Liquidators PBA Tour. This week we are in Taylor, Michigan, just outside of Detroit. Detroit founded in 1701 by the Frenchman Antoine de la Mothe Cadillac. How about that? Did you know that?
Wow, Rob.
That's good stuff. I know.
You never cease to amaze me, my friend.
I realize
you are brilliant.
Machuga in the 6th. Off an open frame. Strikes and new ball.
And that's the ball change that I was referring to. After his last shot went through the nose, he went to a less aggressive bowling ball and something that would hold its line. Now, that ball early on wasn't strong enough. Now it looks like it's just right.
Flomax with the update on Machuga. You say a less aggressive bowling ball. What does that mean about the dynamics of the ball?
The cover stock isn't as aggressive, it isn't as porous, and the dynamics of the inside of the weight block isn't as strong or powerful. So therefore, it has a little bit greater resistance to rotation, and that'll help the ball stay straighter.
Just 3 strikes through the opening 6 frames for Machuga. None of them have been strung together in the first, the third, and the 6th.
There's his first back-to-back, Jack, and match number 3.
Well, a professional adjustment and then 2 very well-executed shots equals a double for Mike Machuga and puts him right back into this match.
Malott working off a double of his own. The lead at 6th, 6, as we begin the 7th for Malott.
Get it!
I can't wait to see the replay on just how little that Messenger missed that by.
Messenger in front of the 10. Gotta hate this when this happens. It goes hunting right in front of the 10. Wes Malott was looking for that to carry to give him a 3-bagger.
Malott picks up the single spare conversion, his second televised appearance of this season. It's been a strong start for the Big Nasty.
Second show of the season early. I'm with a new company, Rotogrip, and I'm in the process of learning new balls again. So it's all, it's a learning experience every time I get out there, and hopefully everything stays good and I continue with Rotogrip. I learn these balls well, and then the wins will start falling into place.
Just 3 career tour titles for Malott, one of them coming last year in Medford.
His 5th strike of this match. The winner to take on the number 1 seed, Bill O'Neill.
Machuga, though, has found some recent momentum. Strikes in the 6th and the 7th, looking for 3 in a row here in the 8th.
This to take the lead.
The lead is his.
Machuga, the 5 seed, looking for his 3rd straight win to propel him to the championship.
Well, it's a great ball change and obviously great execution. So it's one thing to just go ahead and change balls, but you have to do it with conviction so that you can execute the shots properly. Mike Machuga has done that in the 6th, 7th, and 8th frame. And his only title on this very same Chameleon pattern. Clutch 4-bagger, and he loves the shot. Watch him walk it out immediately.
Great ball change.
Indeed.
If he doesn't say so himself.
Wes Malott can strike out 9th and 10th to shoot .231. Mike Machuga can strike out in the 10th for .236.
Back-to-back jacks for Big Wes.
Now, how is that Messenger in front of the 10 looking for Wes Malott?
Looming rather significantly.
A lot can happen. Looks like Mike Machuga is now dialed in, but there's nothing like putting a little pressure on your opponent. Wes Malott can do that with 3 strikes in the 10th frame.
3 times in this match, Malott has strung together consecutive strikes, yet to get 3 in a row.
Body right. You make a
10-pin
good
is gonna
move and
cost
a
him.
great shot.
Well, you just can't throw it much better than this shot, and he just gets the massive ring and 10. Watch the 6-pin do a little do-si-do with the 10-pin right there. And man, when you're working on a double trying to win a title, that's the last thing you want to have happen. Well, the strike here on his fill shot, Mike Machuga will just have to get good count with any kind of mark, and he will bowl Bill O'Neill for the title.
Finishes strong. And takes a seat. And sees what Machuga has in store for him.
Well, he bowled a great game, just 2 shots. That messenger 10-pin in the 7th, ringing 10 in the 10th, otherwise he shuts out Mike Machuga. Right now, Mike Machuga, any kind of a mark, good count, he moves on.
Machuga looking for 5 straight strikes here.
There it is, baby.
5 it is.
There's your best kind of mark. Mike Machuga will bowl Bill O'Neill for the title. The only time we'll see Chameleon pattern exclusively, Mike Machuga has won his only title on this very oil pattern.
And there's Bill O'Neill, the native of Levittown, Pennsylvania, just outside Philadelphia, looking on and keeping an eye on who will be his competitor. Between them, they've won just 1 tour title. And that one going to Mike Machuga. Happened in Council Bluffs, Iowa at the 05 Greater Omaha Classic. And as you mentioned, on the Chameleon oil pattern, which is what we are bowling today. And in that match, he defeated Bill O'Neill for the title, 256 to 245. This one ends up 221, 210. So Machuga's rolled a 196, a 245, and now a 221 to move on as the number 5 seed to take on Bill O'Neill in the championship. Welcome you back to ESPN's continuing live coverage of the Lumber Liquidators PBA Tour. We are set for our men's title match. The Chameleon Championship up for grabs. Rob Stone, Randy Peterson, glad you're spending part of your Sunday with us as we take a look at our Geico Championship recap. Randall?
Thanks, Rob. Match number 1, Mike Machuga, Sean Rash. This was a war of attrition. Mike Machuga holding on late, getting the first strike in the 10th to win that match. Then in our second our second stepladder finals, Machuga takes on Brian Kretzer. This time Machuga goes 6 in a row, shoots 245 to end Brian Kretzer's day. And in the last match, the first shot in the 10th frame seals the deal. Mike Machuga defeating Wes Malott 221 to 210.
Machuga 19 strikes through the 3 matches, and again, Machuga a 5 seed. Originally, there were only supposed to be 4 seeds on this televised broadcast. A scoring malfunction earlier in the week led the PBA officials to come to an executive decision to have both Sean Rash and Mike Machuga duel an opening match to see who would move on to take on the 3 seed. Machuga originally was out and got himself back in. And that strike starts off this championship match the way he has started every single match today, with the strike. Except for the first match.
I was waiting for that one, Parts.
Sounded too good to be true.
Good catch.
Bill O'Neill, 27 years old, looking for his first tour title. O'Neill starts with a strike, and this is O'Neill on being the #1 seed.
I'll take my chances in one game. I'd rather have ball one game than try to win 3. You can give me the #1 seed every week. I'll take it.
Master of the obvious with the soundbite there.
Yeah, but think of all the TV time he's missing out on, not qualifying 5th or 4th and going up the ladder like Mike Machuga.
I guess.
The airtime, brother. It's all about,
I know, you're
it's all about
that.
FaceTime.
I know you're all about that game. So both O'Neill and Machuga start with strikes. Here's O'Neill in the second. For having not bowled these lanes all day outside of a few practice shots, boy, O'Neill looks like he's got them figured out early.
Yeah, but Bill O'Neill dominated this event. He was #1 after the first round of qualifying. He stayed there after the second round and then just continued on in the 2 rounds of match play.
Back-to-back jacks for Machuga, the 5 seed. O'Neill, the PBA points leader, is 4th on the money list, and here's our title match showdown, O'Neill and Machuga.
And again, remember that the only title for Mike Machuga came on this very same Chameleon oil pattern against Bill O'Neill.
There's a thing in literary terms called irony.
I've heard of that word.
Yeah.
Heard of that word before. I'm not sure what it means, but... Boy, it looked like at release that Mike Machuga got around that one just a little bit more than he wanted to. And watch this ball break loose. And you see the back-end reaction there. That generally tells you that the hand kind of got around it a little bit more. He's telling it to Woe. Pays the ultimate price. Big 4 in the 3rd.
Also known as the big ears. 2 ears fall.
Big ears.
That's what I have on my cheat sheet.
Yeah, I threw that one good.
You haven't heard that term? Is it another term I've made up?
Shut it off.
I wouldn't put it past myself. O'Neill, 222.9 average this season, 4th best in the PBA.
This young man voted the 05-06 Rookie of the Year after leading all rookies in points, earnings, and match play appearances. And what a beautiful shot this is. He's been working very hard on his game, got his swing nice and straight, trying to get a little bit softer and becoming more versatile, not just a guy that plows on it at the bottom of the swing.
O'Neill, a 4-time All-American at Saginaw Valley State University and University Center, Michigan, which is about 90 miles north of Detroit. A couple of his old college buddies made the trek down here. Again, this is the 2nd straight televised appearance for O'Neill. Last week, finished 2nd in the Lake County, Indiana Golden Anniversary Classic to Walter Ray Williams, Jr.
You took a lot. You took a lot.
Yes.
All right, who hit that pin and with what?
Might have been one of his fraternity brothers. Three strikes through 4 frames for O'Neill with an early big lead. 8-pin got it?
Okay.
Whoever. Finals when we return. And the conclusion of the men's final, the Chameleon Championship. I want to remind you, tomorrow night, duel between two young guns. Brady Quinn looks to lead the Browns back into contention, while Trent Edwards is out to rally the Buffalo Bills back to their winning ways. Monday Night Football here on ESPN at 8:30 Eastern.
Who do you like?
I don't like Trent Edwards lately because he's single-handedly mauling my fantasy team. It's tail on waivers. How about that? Who do I like? I like the Bills.
There you have it.
Machuga in the fourth, off an open frame 8.
Wide lookout.
That's not your best.
In back-to-back shots of big 4 split. Now the 1-2-8-10 washout.
What's next? 7-10?
That's if he can get it back to the pocket.
Yeah.
I think it just, to me, it looks like Mike is starting now to get too aggressive. It's a title match. Everything that he's worked for up until this point is coming to a head, and it looks like he's getting overly aggressive. Back-to-back open frames.
It is really hard to win a title with back-to-back opens.
And if you're Bill O'Neill trying to win your first career title, it's really hard to be sitting still over there when your opponent goes back-to-back opens, and sitting on the bench, you now have a 28-pin lead working on a strike. But Bill has to keep his emotions in check.
That's the move.
Now he's dealing with double wood. We're breaking out all the terms here with what Machuga's leaving.
Remember, this is a lane he just big forward on, and so he makes a little bit of an adjustment, and the ball never turns over. Go ahead, Rob.
At least he puts the open frame run to an end with that spare pickup.
Yeah, I mean, it almost looks like he needs to kind of do what Bill O'Neill and what Wes Malott did in the last match, and that's just to move in a little bit from where he's at now and get his hand into it a little bit more and kind of circle it a bit.
Is it too late?
Well, I'll let you know after the next 2 shots that O'Neill throws. And that shot never got far enough right, so it hit the hook spot that Brian Kretzer and Sean Rash were using earlier in the day. And you see, this needs to get another three boards right of that to be able to have a chance to get to the pocket. Now he leaves at 310, looking to get the ball in between the 3 and the 10 pin.
Trying to take care of the baby split here.
Buddy, you are breaking out all of the bowling verbiage today.
Down with the baby split. You were talking about Machuga maybe being a little
like that.
Ramped up, a little too energetic there.
He's getting a little geeked up, man. You got to just, you know, chill out.
And that was something that was a concern of O'Neill coming into this game when he bowled Walter Ray Williams Jr. last week in Hammond. You know, he said, I was amped up. I could see it by the lack of carry. I was too fired up. This time I hope to be a little bit calmer. Better shot. His 4th strike of this title match.
Rob, there's nothing like experience. And Bill O'Neill, coming off of his show last week, brings that experience into today. All he was hoping for coming in was to find a decent ball reaction and to make good shots. And the more he's in this situation, the more he'll be able to handle the nerves.
Machuga rallies with a strike right here, and this the first of 2 title matches you'll see on today's live broadcast. Following this one, the PBA Women's Series takes to the lanes. Michelle Feldman taking on Jodi Woessner.
Mike Machuga looking to cut into Bill O'Neill's lead. The strike here, he can reduce that to 18. Rob, I think it's a must-strike situation.
Must strike he does. his 4th strike of this match, and second time he's strung 2 together.
It's all about fine-tuning, and Mike Machuga there appeared to move further right, bring his speed up, back the hand out, and just rifle one to the 1-3 pocket.
Very long, nasty 7-day stretch of bowling for O'Neill. Again, last Sunday he was in Hammond, Indiana, lost in the final. Gets a break there, dropping the 7, leaving just the 10, and then he got in the car for the 4-hour drive from Hammond here to Detroit with Michael Fagan, and Michael Fagan was nice enough to drive a majority of that one rather than sleep in the passenger seat. But O'Neill got here Monday, bowled 14 games, Tuesday 18 games, took Wednesday completely off, another 14 games Thursday, 18 more on Friday, took yesterday off, and here he is in the final.
Oh, baby.
Hey, welcome to the tour and bowling well. I mean, that's what we do. You know, you get on a roll, and you don't want it to ever end. You bowl a lot of games, you make TV, you go to the next week, and you hope to continue to ride that wave. And that last shot, Bill O'Neill dodged a huge bullet, not leaving the 7-10 split and maintaining an 18-pin lead.
Both are finalists with 4 strikes through 7 frames. We begin the 8th with O'Neill, the number 1 seed. Did not like it, hands on head.
Just what we talked about, just what you'd mentioned. Overly aggressive, too amped up, and throws it right through the break point. Now that ball, a little bit softer speed, that has a chance to turn the corner, but not thrown that hard.
And he left it open.
Did you feel that, Rob?
Yeah, I felt that momentum change, and we've got a sprint to the finish here as Machuga can take the lead here. It would be his first lead in this title match.
Just catch.
Well, some days you're the dog and some days you're the hydrant. And right there, Mike Machuga gets the good break of not leaving the 2-8-10, only leaving the 2-pin, keeping himself well into this match. An open frame there would have been devastating.
So Machuga picks up the spare in the 8th. And we begin the foundation frame with Machuga. Just 5 pins separating these two. O'Neill trying to visualize his first career tour title. Machuga eyeballing his 2nd. Gets them all. So is he the dog right now?
I would say yes.
And the head drops, and now it's O'Neill's turn.
That's a great shot coming off of that open frame for Bill O'Neill. And this fate is in his hands. He can strike out and lock this match up.
Wonderful response from O'Neill. He has gone 64 career events without a title, 8th most of current exempt players. Twice he's been a runner-up through his career, once already this season, and that was last week. Bill O'Neill, nicknamed the Real Deal, needs 2 strikes and 6 pins to get his first tour title. And we get closer. Had a feeling all season long that this was kind of coming for Bill O'Neill. This is breakout season type bowling right now from him.
And this next shot can be a defining moment in a professional's career. He's left an opening for Mike Machuga.
What a title match.
204 is the best Bill O'Neill can shoot.
Machuga can get a 210.
It's going to be sit and wait time for Bill O'Neill.
204 for Bill O'Neill.
2 strikes and 5 pins.
Rack, please.
And Mike Machuga will win for the second time. And wasn't it you that mentioned something about irony? That his second, if he were to do that, his second title would come against the same guy?
On the same oil pattern.
On the same oil pattern. And you and I are like so in sync right now, buddy.
Peanut butter and jelly, baby. Chocolate and milk. Again, 2 strikes.
It's just a game.
And then 5. And the title is Machuga's. Yeah, I had bad vibes about that one.
He didn't look comfortable from the start of that, so now he's doing the smart thing. Regroup.
Absolutely.
Go back to the routine. Take your time.
Machuga beat Rash in match 1, 196-190. Took care of Kretzer in match 2, 245-188, and then dispatched Wes Malott 221-210 to get here to the title match versus Bill O'Neill. 2 strikes and 5 for that title. O'Neill is done at 204. And there's strike 1. Randy, your hands are perspiring. You're sweating.
They are.
You're not even rolling, son.
They are, and you don't need big scores to have great title matches. This is a great title match. It's going to come down to this shot. This reminds me of old school back in the 80s championship matches where it took like 210 to 208 to win the title. This is good stuff. A lot of strategy out there, guys making minor adjustments, but it just basically boils down to who wants it more and who's going to make the better shots.
Must strike here or it's O'Neill's title. Strikes! Needs just 5 pins for title number 2.
That's what you came here for.
And the potential for the second ever Machuga flop. Still needs 5 though. Strategy. What are you doing right here, Randy? Do you take the spare ball?
Spare ball or strike ball and throw it right down the middle.
Come on, hit the one closest to you.
There she is. Title 2 for Machuga. And again, for the second straight week, Bill O'Neill is the bridesmaid. Machuga's father, Richard, in attendance, as are some of his other relatives. You're not the only one who wants to see the Machuga flop. And remember, this is a guy who at one point earlier this week was technically out of this televised show. An adjustment made by the PBA allowed him to roll, allowed an extra competitor to play and compete here in the Chameleon Championship. And your 5 seed, Mike Machuga, moves on and wins it all from that 5 seed slot, defeating Bill O'Neill 209 to 204. We'll hear from the winner when we return, plus the women's final.
Lumber Liquidators PBA Tour on ESPN is brought to you by Etonic.
I'd like to thank Ted Dobbins, the proprietor here at Taylor Lanes.
Wonderful, wonderful
Great hospitality
man.
this week.
Daughter Erin,
who's the general manager here. And one championship in the books, another on the way. Up now, the PBA Women's Series Chameleon Championship. This is the second of 7 PBA Women's Series events this season. And it'll be a showdown between Michellee Feldman and Jodi Woessner. Feldman the 1 seed, and we want to remind you that Mike Machuga is in the booth with us. We'll hear from him just momentarily, just minutes after his second career title win. But this is Jodi Woessner from Toledo, Ohio. She leaves herself a sleeper to start off with. Jodi is a girl after many a man's heart. Her hobbies include poker and golf. Her favorite food is Mexican. She listens to Motley Crue. She's a big fan of the Ohio State Buckeyes, and her favorite movie is Caddyshack. Somebody put a ring on that woman's finger. Stat. Actually, she does have a ring on that finger. She is engaged. Her boyfriend, Aaron Hawkins, in attendance. And we are joined in the booth by Mike Machuga, who came all the way from the 5 slot to win his second career title. We take a live look at Michellee Feldman, and we'll let her throw her first down the lane and then hit you up, Mike. You had to work for that one. I mean, not only just as the 5 seed, but we saw multiple ball changes by you. How did the lanes and your mentality progress throughout this whole tournament today?
Well, I tell you what, it really just seemed like a lot of good guessing. They are real tough out there today. You know, we played the inside part of the lane majority of the week, if not all of it. And today, that just it seemed really tough in there, and I just did the best I could to manage what was going on around that first arrow. You know, a little right, a little left, a little straighter, a little more hook, and a little softer, a little more speed. And just kind of felt like I was trying to hit the one closest to me most of the time.
Mike, what went through your mind when Bill O'Neill gave you the opening, knowing that you needed 2 strikes in the 10th to win?
Well, you know, all I could remember was 3 years ago when he struck in the 9th. I just said, you know, geez, this is the way it happened. You know, 3 weeks ago this week was the exact opposite situation. I had a chance to strike out in the 9th, 10th, and 11th to shut him out. And I couldn't believe it until after he shot the 2-pin. I said, wow, this is really happening. He really just gave me a chance. I feel like I deserved it, but you do with what comes to you.
Feldman misses the 10 pins, so an open frame there in the second. You're talking about the 05 Greater Omaha Classic, in which you beat Bill O'Neill for your first tour title on this Chameleon oil pattern. And
was it really?
Yeah. See, we have some knowledge here. This is what all the papers are here for, to make us sound more intelligent than we really are in normal life. Here's Jodi Woessner in the second.
That right lane does have a little wiggle spot on it.
So what's the secret? What's the key? What's the trick that you have to pull off on the right lane to get the ball to the 1-3?
You know, I was really just making sure that I just caught a little bit of it. I was only playing the board different with my feet, but I really just wanted to make sure that I caught just a little bit more of it on that lane, just to make sure it caught a little more than the left one.
We're going to flash back to that win at the Greater Omaha Classic in Council Bluffs, Iowa. That was 2005. He beat Bill O'Neill, and there is the Machuga flop, and there are some disappointed fans here that we did not get a repeat of the Machuga flop.
You got 2 girls out there bowling in those lanes right now that are very happy that I didn't do it.
Hey, there's lanes on the outside. We'll light them up for you.
They don't have oil on them.
He's having some problems finding the pocket here.
What does Jodi need to do, Mike?
I really think that if she can get her feet and her target about 4 or 5 boards to the right, there is some pretty good friction out there from what I have built. That she can create a little margin for error out there. Michelle's not able to do that. She likes to play the middle part of the lane. I think Jodi needs to scoot a little right, try to find some friction.
Her first televised finals appearance this season. Rolled a high of 267 this week, did Jodi. And in July of this year, she actually beat Jason Couch in Cincinnati. I know you were highlighting and putting stars next to that tidbit, Randy.
What are you talking about? She had a great match against Couch. She beat him 279 to 257 in Cincinnati at Cherry Grove Lanes, where Brian Himmler, PBA champion, owns the pro shop. She bowled great. She said Jason was very gracious in defeat, so I don't know what your agenda is, mister.
I have no agenda. Michellee Feldman, that is the first strike of this match, and Michelle is dealing with some thumb issues right now.
Mike, talk about just how sensitive the release zone is. You know, if you catch it a little too much, if you don't catch quite enough of it, and how that translates into ball motion down the lane.
You know, this pattern isn't the longest of patterns that we bowl on. It's a little bit shorter, and especially on the TV set, these lanes have been cleaned, have been walked on. There's debris all over them, so they need to be cleaned again. So they've been extra cleaned over the last couple of days, and that accentuates the shortness of the pattern. So anything that has a little bit of grab or a little extra hit is going to end up right in the middle of the head pin.
The oil just 40 feet long. Woessner still trying to find her first strike and leaves double wood. That's the third time she's done that in her opening 4 frames. Now, if you keep leaving that, what's the adjustment you need to make?
Right, right, right.
So you're telling me right?
I would say move right.
Okay.
What do you think, Randy?
I think I'd move right.
You know, if you talk as loud as you did when I was bowling, you might be able to get her to move right.
He was loud, wasn't he?
Well, you know what, and this is the second time she's going to make that spin. But you know what, Mike, it's hard when you've got a headset on, you've got Morgan Daly, my producer, yelling in one ear, and Rob Stone yelling in the other. I can't even hear myself think, buddy.
I love you, buddy. I'm just busting on you. You know that. I'm sure we'll be ripping on each other on the golf course here soon.
Well, and apparently my yelling, according to you, really hurt your chances of winning today. So you better think of a new one, mister.
Yes, sir.
That looks a little better. Yeah.
And there we go. Her first strike of this title match in the PBA Women's Series.
And Mike, you're right. You know, she's going to keep inching right, and I think she's going to find a home where you had played the lanes all day today. And, you know, we had talked about this oil pattern not being able to play out there, and yet you found a way to not only play out there, but to win out there.
Man, I was just trying to hit the one closest to me, I swear. You know, I just got enough shots out there to build a little something. And, the middle of the lane never looked good enough to move in there.
Feldman gets another strike. She's number 2 in the PBA Women's Series points ranking list and the money list, and her average is up and number 1 in the series. 216. Last year was 208. And that is 3 in a row for Feldman, and the lead swells to 32. Say it with me, Mike. Tailbone! Oh, man. And on that, we thank you, Mike Machuga. It was a pleasure. Good win. You may now go celebrate with somebody else besides us. Mike Machuga, thanks for joining us. He has won his 2nd career Lumber Liquidators PBA Tour title and the final of the women's. When we return, Michellee Feldman in cruise control. To ESPN's continuing live coverage of PBA action. This is the PBA Women's Series Women's Championship, and that is Michellee Feldman, who has just rolled 4 consecutive strikes. Has a 42-pin lead as Jodi Woessner steps up for her effort in the 6th. Jodi leaves the 10. The winner of today's Women's Series match will join Stephanie Nation who won the first event on this tour, the Pepsi Viper Championship. We'll join them in the PBA Women's Series Showdown in a season-ending dedicated broadcast on ESPN, sponsored by the United States Bowling Congress. Again, this is the second of 7 PBA Women's Series events this season.
Boy, there's a real obvious difference in power when you watch Michelle Feldman's bowling ball hit the pins and you watch Jodi's ball hit the pins. Now, Jodi must play the lanes much straighter because she's got a lower rev rate. That last shot leaving the week 10, you saw deflection. And again, I still think that Mike Machuga was spot on. She needs to still move a little bit further right on that lane. And although it looked like she rolled that shot pretty well, it just looked to pinch fast. So again, to get it up to the 1-3 pocket, a couple boards to the right, that same shot is going to find a home.
Woessner, a process expert for the phone system at Owens Corning. She takes vacation days for those Thursdays. Friday, she actually worked because she's not too far from home here. Worked about 4.5 hours, went home, and then drove out here. Got here at 4, bowled at 6 on Friday, made the show. Drove back home, arrived at 3 a.m. and told us she was very thankful for the flexibility that Owens Corning has showed her to allow her to get on the PBA Women's Series Tour.
And you know, it says in her bio that her biggest fear is bees and wasps.
Yeah, you two went on and on about that yesterday.
Michelle Feldman's biggest fear? Drowning.
Neither one of them pleased. Feldman leaves the 10. I don't want to get into your issue with bees and wasps and flies.
Hey, Rob, let's talk about this, okay?
Good.
She leaves a week 10 here, and Michelle Feldman, look out, has already missed a single pin spare.
Really?
That's the second 10 pin she's missed in this match. Michelle tells us that 31-time titleist Alita Sill drills all of her stuff and still coaches her. And that's the same coach that she's had since she came out on the ladies tour.
Don't do stupid things.
When she was 19. Same coach all this time, still drilling her equipment. And she's battle tested bowling all of those events on the women's tour. Let's see if she can get herself back into this match. Should I say recover from the open frame, because she's well ahead in this match.
Feldman finished second to Stephanie Nation at the Pepsi Viper Championship a few weeks ago in Omaha, Nebraska, losing 225 to 200. That was on November 2nd. Feldman's game, much like the men's, pretty powerful. Gets that hook on it. And a mock celebration on the spare conversion.
You know, when I asked her, Michelle, you know, for the women audience that are watching and watching you really hook that bowling ball, you know, what advice can you give the women watching that to get their bowling balls to hook more? She said, I don't know, I just do it.
Yeah, she doesn't even know how she does it. You know, people ask her, hey, I want to bowl like you, Michelle. You know, what's your advice? She's like, well, I'm not all that sure how I even bowl. And if Jodi Woessner wants to get into this game, she needs to continue to try and follow your advice, which would be move right.
Never got far enough. Remember watching Mike Machuga where he played, remember the couple of shots that he threw that hit the 1-2-3 board, just sucked right up to the pocket. I mean, you've got to have the experience behind you to look for that and to watch those matches and to give yourself an idea of where you're going to go.
Down 32. She can only max out at 193. Michelle Feldman can top it at 225. Feldman rolled 4 consecutive strikes beginning in the 3rd frame. Since then has gone open spare. But Jodi Woessner had open frames in the 2nd and the 3rd and has rolled just 1 strike here in the title match. That looks good, though.
She needs to strike out for 193. And then she would need to hope that Michelle Feldman ran into another open frame. But Michelle Feldman just fills frames in the 9th and 10th. She's going to be in the 200s, and she'll lock this match up.
Feldman became the first woman to fire a 300 game on national television. She did that against Carolyn Dorn Ballard, who's in attendance here today at the 97 Southern Virginia Open on the PBA Tour, where she won 12 titles and was the 02 Player of the Year.
Uh-oh. This could be the one opening that Jodi Woessner needs and has been looking for if Michelle Feldman fails to convert. 1-2, 8-10. How about that?
Massive pickup.
Now just any mark in the 10th frame with good count, and she will shut out Jodi Woessner. We've seen that made a few times, huh?
Today.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about today. You not listening to me again?
No, I'm listening.
Okay.
It's just selective hearing with you.
I understand.
So Feldman's third spare of this title match. 4 strikes and 2 open frames. Needs mark and count for the win.
That's okay. A spare here.
Really got to pick a spare to win, huh?
And 5. Give her 194. Best Jodi Woessner can shoot. 193.
Picks it up.
Fun to watch when she gets it going, boy. She can throw a lot of strikes, and she played to her strength this week. And she said, you know, when we went into match play, Randy, it was just the women bowling on one side of the house, and I could move in, and I had the whole inside part of the lane to myself.
Not 2 weeks in a row. No!
He's got it. That's how you close out a title. Michelle Feldman, runner-up in Omaha, wins it in Taylor. Woessner will roll out here in the 10th.
Never got a look on the right lane. Never moved far enough on the right lane. Sorry, Jodi. I wish she could have thrown a couple of shots out there and got an idea of the friction that had been created. She'd have bowled a much better game.
Better not miss that.
$10,000 will go to Michelle Feldman for winning the Chameleon Championship here as part of the PBA Women's Series.
I'll go home and practice 10 pins. Obviously, I can't pick them ever.
Feldman will now join Stephanie Nation, who won the first event, the Pepsi Viper Championship in the PBA Women's Series Showdown. It's a season-ending show broadcast on ESPN and sponsored by the USBC. Now, both of them finished strong, but it was Feldman beginning strong to get the victory.
Not 2 weeks in a row.
199 to 173.
2 weeks in a row and lose.
Michelle Feldman wins the women's title. Mike Machuga takes it on the men's side. Machuga dropping Bill O'Neill in the final, 209 to 204. Next week, we are back here at Taylor Lanes for the Ultimate Scoring Championship. We expect some serious high scores with that one. For Randy Peterson and our entire crew, I'm Rob Stone. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.